I knew someone had been in my car when I stopped at the second gas station because the passenger seat was wet, and I had been driving alone for hours. I was on a night drive from Phoenix to Albuquerque. Just me, a long stretch of highway, and too much coffee. I left late, so by the time I got past Holbrook, it was after midnight. The road was mostly empty. A few semis, a few distant headlights, black desert on both sides. I had already stopped once for gas near Winslow. That was when I first noticed the SUV. Dark color, older model, no front plate. It was parked across from my pump with its lights off. I only noticed it because I kept seeing a red glow inside, like someone lighting a cigarette. When I pulled out, it pulled out too. I told myself that meant nothing. But 20 minutes later, when I changed lanes to pass a truck, the SUV changed lanes too. When I slowed down, it slowed down. Not close enough to tailgate, just close enough to stay there. That was the first moment I got uneasy. I took the next exit on purpose. A dark frontage road, a closed diner. Nothing else. The SUV took it too. At the stop sign, I turned right. It turned right. That was enough. I got back onto the highway at the next on-ramp and almost called 911. I didn't. I still wanted a normal explanation. About 40 minutes later, I saw the second gas station. It was one of those old places with 2 pumps and bright white lights that made everything outside the lot look even darker. I didn't need gas yet. I pulled in anyway. If the SUV followed me, I would know. If it kept going, I would feel stupid and move on. I watched my mirror as I turned in. The SUV kept driving. No brake lights, no signal. It just disappeared down the highway. I actually laughed from relief. I parked under the lights and ran inside to use the bathroom. I was gone less than 2 minutes. When I came back out, nothing looked wrong. My doors were locked. My trunk was shut. Then I opened the car and saw the passenger seat. There was a wet stain in the middle of it. Fresh. Cold. And on the floor mat below it were 3 small pieces of gray gravel I had never seen before. Sharp-edged. Dusty. I touched the seat again just to be sure. Water. Not soda. Not coffee. Water. I checked the back seat. Nothing. Checked the trunk. Nothing missing. No sign of forced entry. But my passenger seat was wet, and I knew it had not been wet before I went inside. I went back into the station and asked the clerk if their cameras covered the lot. He said yes. Then he looked at me and asked, "You with the dark SUV?" My stomach dropped. I asked what SUV. He said one had pulled around the side of the building while I was in the bathroom. He thought it was with me because it stopped near my car for maybe 10 seconds, then left. I asked if he saw the driver. He shook his head. Tinted windows. That was all. That was enough. I locked my doors, got back on the road, and called 911. The dispatcher told me not to stop anywhere isolated. Drive toward the next larger town. An officer would try to meet me if the SUV showed up again. For about 15 minutes, the road stayed empty. Then my interior dome light came on. Just once. A soft flash over my head. Then off again. I nearly swerved. My doors were locked. My windows were up. Nothing else changed. Then I heard a sound from behind me, a dull plastic tap, inside the car. I looked in the rearview mirror. The back seat looked empty. My jacket, a paper bag. Nothing moving. Then another sound, this time from the trunk, a soft thud, like something shifting when I changed lanes. I started shaking so badly I had to grip the wheel with both hands. Then I smelled cigarette smoke. Cold, stale, faint at first. Then stronger. It was the exact smell I had noticed from the SUV at the first gas station. I told the dispatcher I thought someone had been in my car. Her tone changed immediately. She told me not to pull over. Not for anything. Drive to the next lit area and keep the line open. A minute later, a trucker in the lane beside me honked twice and pointed behind my car. I looked in the side mirror. My trunk was open. Not fully, just a few inches, enough to flutter in the wind. I had not opened it. I know I had not. The trucker slowed, then dropped back fast, like he didn't want to be next to me anymore. That scared me even more than the trunk. It meant he had seen something. I asked the dispatcher how far the officers were. She said 3 minutes. I saw lights ahead and took the next exit without even checking the sign. It led to a rest area, vending machines, a bathroom building, a few parked semis. I pulled in hard and stopped under the brightest light. A highway patrol unit arrived less than a minute later. They approached with flashlights up. One officer had me get out and stand behind his cruiser. The other checked the back seat first, then the trunk. When he opened it all the way, he stopped talking. That second has stayed with me more than anything. Inside my trunk, between my suitcase and a blanket, was a black hoodie, a half-empty water bottle, a roll of gray duct tape, and a cheap burner phone with the screen lit up. The phone was displaying a notes app. Just one line. Wait until she stops again. The trunk had no person in it, but there was fresh dirt ground into the carpet on the left side, and one long smear across the inside panel, like something heavy had been dragged out in a hurry. The officer asked when I had last opened the trunk. At the first gas station near Winslow. That was where I had grabbed a sweatshirt. After that, no. He checked the latch and said the emergency release cover inside the trunk had been snapped off. Someone had used it recently. They searched the rest area, the dumpsters, the brush behind the bathrooms, even under the semis. Nothing. No SUV. No person. One of the officers then drove back with me to the second gas station to pull camera footage. The clerk was still there. We watched the video in a tiny office behind the counter. It showed my car under the pump lights. Then, while I was inside, the dark SUV pulled along the side of the building. A man got out from the rear passenger side, not the driver's side. That detail mattered. It meant there had been at least 2 people. The man moved low and fast along the dark side of my car, then disappeared from camera for a few seconds. When he came back into frame, he was not alone. Someone was crouched behind him, using my open trunk lid for cover. The angle was terrible, but you could clearly see a hand on the edge of the trunk. Then both disappeared behind the SUV. The SUV drove off first. My trunk closed a second later, from the inside. The police dusted my car for prints. They found one partial print on the inside of the trunk near the broken latch cover, 2 smeared to match. The official explanation was simple. I had accidentally left the trunk unlocked at the first gas station. Someone saw me traveling alone, saw my luggage, waited for the second stop, then got into the trunk and planned to force me out later. They never found the SUV. I sold the car 3 months later. Couldn't stand driving it. Thought that would be the end of it. Then, almost a year later, I found an email in spam with no subject line. It had been sent the morning after the road trip. No text, just a photo attachment. It was dark and grainy, taken through glass. At first I thought it meant nothing. Then I recognized it. My passenger seat. Wet. And photographed from the back seat. If you're a fan of creepy true stories, feel free to check out my playlist.